Hey guys, this is the video for the Qualitative Single Replacement Reaction Lab. Starting with step 2, it says obtain a 24 well reaction plate, which is what we have here on camera. And then it asks us to use the labeled bottles of solution to add drops in here. Alright, so we have A, B, C, and D, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Alright, so starting with copper 2 sulfate in well B1, in well B1, C1, and D1. So make note of the state of matter and the color. Then in number 2, we're putting iron 2 sulfate into well A2, C2, and D2. And then it asks us to put magnesium nitrate into well A3, B3, and D3. Again, for each one, making note of the state of matter and color. If you need to pause at any time, feel free to do so. All right, then we're going to take zinc sulfate into well A4, B4, and C4. Making note of the color and the state. And then hydrochloric acid in A5, B5, C5, and D5. All right. Step number 4 asks us to place 1 to 3 small pellets of copper in each well in row A. All right, so here's our copper. Make note of the state and the color as they go in. Remember that a reaction may not happen right away, so you should always come back and check it later. We crossed, so in step 5 it asked us to use iron. Instead of iron we're using tin. So on your data table you have crossed out iron and made it tin. Alright, so we're going to add 1 tin pellet to each B solution. Make note of the color and the state before any reaction happens. Right, in step 7, we're adding magnesium ribbon to row C. Make note of color and state before a reaction happens. And then we're taking zinc and putting that into row D. And there you can see that was a fast reaction down at the bottom corner. We're starting off here with this guy, it's silver, so make a note of what it looks like beforehand. All right, so in your data table matches up with the well plate here. So as you notice changes in the spot on the data table that matches up with the spot on the well plate, you should be starting to write in your observations. So for example, if we're looking at our data table here, we have zinc, this bottom one, with the copper sulfate down here. We saw here that as soon as we put the zinc in to the copper sulfate, it's turned immediately from silver to black. So you should make that observation in the box that matches up with that space on the well plate. Okay, so that's happening. We can see some other changes that are going on here. They're going to be subtle changes. So make sure you're looking closely. For example, we can see that this piece of magnesium is moving around here, okay? Look at what is forming and would be causing it to move around. Take a look down here at this well plate here. Notice what's happening here, okay? So you're gonna have to look closely to see some of these changes. I'm gonna let this run for about 5 minutes here so that you can see any changes that would happen over a 5-minute period. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes. Let's take a closer look here at each of our rows. Alright, so let's start here. Row A, you can notice any changes that may have happened. Row B, notice any changes that may have happened. Remember, our signs of a chemical reaction are change in color, production of the gas, producing light, heat. That's row B. Here's row C. Take a look here, particularly at the edges. And then row D. All right, so you need to remember now to use this data, make sure you fill out your data table and use that data to answer your questions. On page 3, don't forget that we added question 5, which is for any of them where a reaction occurred, so you could see a sign of a chemical reaction that we just talked about. You are going to write out the reactant side of the chemical equation, including the states of matter.